a part of my mind would say, no, 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 we need to be super excited to make stuff happen. And as time went on, I could see that that was coming from that lack, from that corked being of, if I feel super excited, then I can bring something into my experience that is not already here. So the more I relax into that and recognize that it's already here, the more things have flowed in my life, including this experience that I'm having by being able to ask you my questions and share my story. I feel that it is a manifestation of this very natural exuberance that's here.
So you're telling me you somehow manipulated me into this?
I guess so, these energies. You know, it's like when I'm super stressed out, it's reflected. I see that reflected in the emails that I get and the responses I get from people. But when I not feel with this body necessarily, like not me purposefully being happy or fake smiling, but an inner smile that's just there as long as I remember to turn to it. As long as I remember to become aware of it and kind of live out from there, even if Nikki's upset or nervous. I told you I was on Dr. Oz earlier today, and I didn't even like really have a lot of preparation time for it. So to have that heart racing, but still be aware of peace or even joy in the background, for me, it's like it's very anchoring. And I don't believe I'm deluding myself.
So there are two Nikkis, huh? That's dangerous, huh?
Ooh, tell me more.
Because I saw in your bio that you're also a therapist?
Therapist. Yeah,
Psychotherapist.
licensed psychotherapist.
So
I went to school in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Two Nikkis means either you're schizophrenic or you're possessed.
Ah.
So
Am I possessed with love? Can I be possessed with love? Can I be possessed by joy?
You can possess love. Why should love possess you?
Oh, okay.
You can possess love, joy, ecstasy in your life. You're capable of possessing all this in your life. These must be your greatest possessions, that you're blissful. People think they have a car or a home is a big possession. No. The dollars are not the best possession to have. They're useful.
Right.
They're useful to create a certain amount of comfort for us, but the best possession to have is blissfulness. You don't have to be possessed by it, because see, we are looking at these dimensions of life or aspects of life as some kind of quantities or some kind of commodity that we must have it.
Yes.
Happiness is not something that you will have, joy is not something that you will have. You just can become happy, you can become joyful, isn't it? I have joy in my life, what is that? Have you stored it in a balloon or a box or where? I'm asking. There's no such thing as having joy. You can become joyful, you can become loving, you can become blissful. So becoming blissful, becoming joyful, becoming peaceful, what does it mean? See, if your body becomes pleasant, we call this health. Everybody wants it. Body is pleasant right now, this is health. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it pleasure. If your mind becomes pleasant, we call this peace. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it joy. If your emotions become pleasant, we call this love. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it compassion. If your very life energies become pleasant, we call this bliss. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it ecstasy. If your surroundings become pleasant, we call this success. Only to create pleasantness in your surroundings, you need the cooperation of other forces and people. Because creating pleasantness in the surroundings is a skill of a certain kind. You must be able to put many forces together, otherwise it won't work. But pleasantness of body, pleasantness of mind, pleasantness of emotion and pleasantness of energies are 100% your business, 100%. There's nobody else involved in this. But right now, we have handed this over to so many people that somebody can determine, someone else can determine whether you are happy or unhappy. If someone can determine what happens within you, would you call this slavery? It is the worst form of slavery. Somebody determines what you should wear, what you should eat, where you should be. This itself is called slavery. But if
Yeah.
someone can determine whether you can be happy or unhappy, somebody can make you peaceful, somebody can make you… put you into turmoil, this means you are deeply, deeply enslaved. This enslavement has happened simply because you have not taken charge of your faculties. Your own thought, your own emotion, your mental and psychological structures and your physical body not taking instructions from you. If your mind was taking instructions from you, would you keep it blissful or miserable?
Absolutely blissful.
Absolutely blissful.
Peaceful, joyful, yes.
Sometimes what you want for your neighbor may be debatable, but what you want for yourself is 100% clear, highest level of pleasantness, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
So when this is the case, why such a simple thing is not happening? Can I tell you a small story?
Please.
This is not really a story, this is what happened to me. When I was just 25 years of age, one day I was just sitting on a small hill near my native town. I don't know, you may not be familiar with India.
A little bit. I've been once,
Oh.
but just to southern India, yeah, in Mumbai.
Mumbai, okay. Oh, just the wrong place to go.
No, I'm coming back, and I'm
Mumbai
going
people
northern
won't
India
like
next
it,
time.
but I'm just saying that's not India.
I'm
That's
doing
Mumbai.
North India next time. As soon as
No,
everything
no, you
clears
must
up,
come
I'm headed
south.
back.
In south…
I'm coming south?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mumbai
What
is
part?
not really south, it's somewhere central India. Further
Central.
south is where we are, and it's a more beautiful part of India. North is just plains, south is full of mountains and…
Is it near like Goa?
Yeah, Goa and further down.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. I want to come to Goa too.
So this is a city called Mysore, where there's a small hill in the town, and I was just sitting there and suddenly I realized… suddenly I exploded into a state where every cell in my body was dripping ecstasy. I realized if I just don't mess with my mind, I'm ecstatic.
Yes.
Then after a few weeks of this experience, that it became such a profound experience for me, and then I decided, I was 25 years of age, and I decided and made a plan. In the next 2.5 years, I will make the whole world ecstatic. Because it's so simple, you don't have to do anything. If you simply sit here without messing around with your mind, you're ecstatic. So on that day, the population was just 5.6 billion people. So I thought in 2.5 years, I made a plan, how I will make the whole world ecstatic. See, now it's 39 years. Yeah. Well, people say we've touched around 1 billion people, but that's not my idea of the world. My idea of the world is 7.6 billion people. But it took me a certain amount of time to realize how invested people are in their miseries. They're so invested that even if you show them the greatest possibility, they don't want to leave what is familiar.
Exactly, exactly.
So why is this happening to the world? Why so much suffering? See, physical things that happen to us, there is war, there is famine, there is calamities, these are different things. Well, this causes physical pain. But right now if you look at human beings, only about 2 to 3%, maybe 5% of suffering is because of physical causes from outside. 95% is self-inflicted suffering. Physical situations can change, they need not cause suffering to us. Right now everybody is suffering the pandemic. Those who got infected, those who lost their lives, those who lost their dear ones, it's a different thing. All others are suffering. What is it? They're all worried about the economy, they're worried about the future, they're worried about something. I'm not saying it is not an issue. All I'm saying is, see right now what could happen at the most? Maybe in another 6 months' time or 1 year's time, we may have to live like how we were living 10 years ago. Or maybe 20 years ago. 20 years ago, believe me, life was not very bad, it was good.
Right.
Maybe we'll have to live little with little less. Maybe we will have to live like how our parents lived. Today, how many… for example, I'm saying, this is not against the beauty consultation, okay? For example, how many pairs of clothes your grandparents had and how many you have or this generation has, if you look at it, it's probably 5, 10 times more,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Except
So,
for in this case,
huh?
I have a uniform. I have a uniform. I don't buy clothes like that. T-shirts and skinny jeans
You're
and
not good
scarves.
for economy then.
No, I'm not. I do order a lot of food, but less clothes.
So, essentially, when the caveman lived here also, he was also among them also some were happy, some were not happy. That is not because of the conditions in which they lived in, it is because of the condition of their minds, their ability to use their own faculties. What is it that human beings are suffering if you look at it? Well, they're capable of suffering what happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And of course, they suffer what may happen day after tomorrow already. So this means that they are not suffering life, they are suffering two most important faculties in a human being, that is a vivid sense of memory and a fantastic sense of imagination. They are suffering these two things, which is most unfortunate, because what essentially you're saying is, this evolution of my intelligence is my problem. Right now, human beings are essentially suffering their own intelligence. If they had half the brain that they have, they would sit here peacefully, no meditation would be needed. If they had the brain of an earthworm, they would sit very peacefully. So essentially you're complaining, why have you given me so much intelligence? We're telling nature, why so much intelligence? So in Florida, people soak it in alcohol every 3 days. In the week, they keep it in alcohol, 2 days, they put other kinds of chemicals, to keep the brain preserved so that it's not working too much.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So
That's exactly right. I love
essentially,
that.
you did not figure out how to handle your own intelligence.
Exactly.
So, the fundamental thing is, you have been given the most complex and sophisticated machine on the planet, that is this human mechanism. But you are trying to blunder through your life without even reading the user's manual. This is the only problem human beings have. Outside problems, we will deal with them to the extent that we can, that's all we can do. But 95% of the human suffering is all generated from within. Self-help, it's called.
Self-help. So, brass tacks, this is what I want to know. For you, and you might not experience anxiety or fear or worries anymore in where you are, but for someone that's on this path, and if anxiety comes knocking at the door, how does this look in practice? Staying aware as bliss, this natural exuberance that's there even when the emotions are strong or the thoughts are heavy.